So good morning, everyone. Again, lovely to see all of you. So, and again, we will start as usual with a short mindful breathing exercise, watching your breath mindfully for a few moments. Then you can try to generate good intention by thinking and feeling. May us coming together, giving our precious time to listen and to reflect and contemplate on what we are listening. May all of this become cause and conditions to remind us, inspire us, encourage us to practice the Dharma, to follow the Bodhisattva's path, so we can become more kind, more compassionate, better person. So that we can find more wisdom, inner peace, with our own inner peace, wisdom, and compassion, so that we can do more to others, so we can be more benefit for others. May it become cause and condition to actualize and obtain our own highest potential, the fully awakened state of the Buddhahood. So we can be even greater help and greater benefit, not only to others, but to each and every sentient beings. and not only sometime, to be benefit and help all the time, every moment, every second. Okay. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create to listen to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentients. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create to listen to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentients. Geshe Sherab, Changju Bado Dame, Geshe Sherab, Dola Benje Sanke Do Para Sho. So, yeah, last week we went through some of the verses where Atisha advise and instruct us to practice, whenever we encounter any sentient beings, trying to regard them and see them as our own kind parents, those who are elder than us and those who are younger than us, to see them as, our own children and so forth, and we also talk about, how it is important for a beginner practitioner to have the conducive, right kind of environment surrounding what kind of friend circle we have, because that can, in fact, our way of thinking, and our life and our practice, so we would like to be surrounded by more people who will support our practice, who will encourage and support our practice, people who can encourage and support us to be more compassionate, more kind, more patient, instead of encouraging to be more, kind of hateful, angry, and so forth. That trying to have the right kind of surrounding is important for the beginner. We are very much affected by surrounding where we live, And then we also discuss the line where Atisha advised us not to hold on any ill will feeling, hostile feelings. The best is not to allow any space to arise it. But even if arises, then not to hold on them, but to let it go as soon as possible. I think in one of the sutra, Buddhas explain, if you are holding a burning, stone in your hand, the longer you hold, it will burn your hand more. The sooner you let it go, then it harm you less, it burn you less. And same is that kind of anger, hatred, ill will feeling, hostile feeling, the sooner whatever let it go, the less it hurts us, the less it harms us, the less it damages us and others. And the longer we hold on that, then the more damage it does, the more harm it does to oneself and others. So, so learning to not to hold, but to let it go as soon as possible, even if it arises, not keeping them, instead kind of by applying whatever practice meditation that we have, and just letting it go, And so then the next verse that we have not gone is where you say, and be happy wherever you choose to go. I guess you will be able to find, it's hard to know because there is no number on this one. So be and be happy wherever you choose to go, So again, with whomever we are, wherever we are, wherever we go, it's very important to be happy, If you are happy, you will have less anger, less hostile feelings, less hatred, When we are not happy, then that is when, small thing can irritate us. When we are not happy, small thing can irritate us. When you are not happy, people your neighbor making a small noise can irritate you, or the next dog barking might irritate you, very small thing like that, So, but when you're happy, even the dog bark, it would not irritate you, Someone make a noise, it doesn't irritate you and make you upset and angry, So being in the happy state is so important, and the state, being in happy state, is not something external, it's something internal. We might think, I will be happy if I have these external things, this and that. It's not really, it's not true. We have so much experience of that. We think I will be happy if I have that one. And once you have that, are you really happy? Are you really satisfied? No, we haven't been. Then we have another thing. I will be happy if I get other one. And the boundary keep on moving, We push the boundary, the happiness, the boundary of happiness never comes, we keep on pushing. If I could have that, I will be happy. If I have that, you get that and you are still not happy. And if I have that, I will be happy. And you keep on pushing and pushing and you never find the happiness. That clearly shows happiness not outside there. Something that we need to develop within and inside. And if we develop that happiness within, then we can be, no matter where we are, no matter what kind of neighborhood, people around, still we can be happy. We can still be happy regardless of whatever the weather is, whether it is cold, whether it is hot, whether it's rainy, all of that. But if there is no happy in your mind, then no matter, everything affects you, everything's, The weather affect you. The neighbor affect you, make you unhappy. The weather make you unhappy. The traffic make you unhappy. You go to the grocery and people make you unhappy. Everywhere you go, it make you unhappy, you know. And then your life started to feel kind of quite miserable. Because everywhere you go, you are unhappy. Everywhere you go, everything affect you and irritate you, you know. So therefore, as you know, in the 7-point of mind training, as well as in Shantideva's Guide to Bodhisattva Way of Life, and in all those Lojong's training, you know, as like here, they all advise to keep, no matter what happens, to keep our mind positive, hopeful, and happy. You know, if we can do that, you know, then it will not give the fuel to the anger. It will feel hostile feeling, because unhappy state of mind is the fuel that lead to anger and hostile and evil feeling, you know. And so therefore, reminding ourselves all the time, you know, the weather might not be best to my liking, but reminding ourselves, I can still be happy even if it is not just best for my liking. Reminding ourselves, you know, the neighbor is not the best I want to be, but I can still be happy with this, you know. The computer is not the best that to my liking, but still with whatever computer I have, I can still be happy with that. It's really important to remind ourselves, because a lot of time we forget and we think happiness outside and always kind of look for that, instead of being aware that actually happiness is inside and we can be happy if we choose to be happy, you know. If we choose to be happy, we can find happiness. You don't have to go and search outside, you know, search outside. We have the access to that inner happiness within ourselves all the time. It's just, you know, kind of being wanting to look inside instead of just chasing something outside. And as I mentioned, it's really, really good to remind ourselves all the time and remember and remind ourselves, I don't have to chase something outside to find happiness. I can be happiness. I can find happiness. I can, you know, if I make the choice to be happy, I can find happiness. This very moment, in this very situation, in this very place, in this very whatever conditions it is. We have to remember that, remind ourselves, you know. Otherwise, always trying to look for happiness outside and not being able to find. You know, our life has gone long time and we're still in that, you know, and probably we will never find the happiness, true happiness, because we are always chasing something outside when it is something that you need to find within, you know. And not only yourself, when you are more happy, you know, you create much more better environment for your friends, families, societies, when we become more hostile and when we become more harmful and hurtful to others, mostly when we are not happy. When we are not happy, then, we engage in the more harmful, hurtful, more hostile behavior, action through body, speech, and mind. And even if we don't try to do that, when you are unhappy, when your friends, family see, it makes them very sad. It makes them unhappy to see you unhappy. Do you get it? So in a way, in that, even if you don't do anything, you are still hurting them because you make them unhappy. They were happy, excited, and then they see you unhappy, and then it affects their mind, and they become unhappy. Then imagine when there's two unhappy mind person together, then they are going to have more problems. So then when we have discussions, when we have interactions, small thing can irritate each other easily because we both are unhappy, Again, this is nothing complicating philosophy. It is our experience, our everyday experience. These are our everyday experience, So that is why in all the laws of mind training, just like here, say, we have to learn to be happy, whatever, wherever, whenever, So that is where it says, and be happy wherever you choose to go, Being always happy. And that we can see, also among the different peoples, Some people, no matter where they go, they are happy. They make a lot of friends. Wherever they go in their life, And then there are some people, wherever they go, unhappy. They can never make a good friends, So again, it is, and sometimes we think the others, but it is not the others. It's also ourselves. Is we have to be more positive and and learn to be more happy. Learn to be more happy. And so the next one, avoid getting attached to anything at all and stay free from craving and desire. Why is that? Why do we need to not be attached to anything? Why do we need to stay free from the craving and desire? Because the attachment not only keeps you from the happy rebirth, it kills very life of liberations. Okay, so strong craving, strong desire, strong attachments, to anything, whether it is towards, whether the craving, the desire, the attachment is, whether it is towards any beings, any human beings, any animals, or any form of beings, or whether it is the external, or whether it is the internal experiences attached and craving for certain experiences, whether it is an ordinary experience, samsaric experience, or whether it is a spiritual experiences, or whether it is external objects such as our own, computer, phones, car, house, whatever, As long as we're attached to any of those objects, it creates expectation and disappointment. Attachment always lead to expectation and disappointment. It comes with expectation and disappointment with the attachment. With the attachment, we project a lot of things in the objects by our mind and then create a lot of expectations. We project, and that projections come through because of our attachment. We project a lot of things, whether it's our teachers, whether it is your or disciples or students, or whether it is your friends, or whether it is your wife, husband, partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, or whether it's your children, whether it's your parent, whether it's your friend, whether it's your colleague. When you are attached to them, that attachments project a lot of things in all this object and then we project that and you have a lot of expectations. And when those expectations are not met, then we get disappointed, unhappy. We get disappointed and very unhappy. We feel like we have been kind of, deceived. We feel like that we have been cheated. We feel like we have been taken advantage of. We feel like we have been misled, misguided. All of that comes because you have so much expectations. And all this expectation came because we have projected a lot of things into the objects. And those projections come because of our attachment to them. When we have attachment, our mind gets kind of blind, cannot see things kind of unbiased way. Attachment is very biased. Just as anger or hatred is very biased. Same way, attachment is also very biased. So you cannot see the reality. Attachment kind of obscure and blind us from seeing the reality. And then that attachment, project a lot of things. And so that led to a lot of disappointment, unhappy. Any kind of relationship, there can be so many different kinds of, any kind of relation. When there is that part, then at the end, it's going to have not such a great relationship. It is not going to end up as such a good. It is always going to end up somehow, some sort of disappointment and unhappy. Those expectations will not be met because a lot of them are projected by our mind. Because of the attachments, So not only we get disappointed and unhappy, we put a lot of pressure in the other persons. Indirectly, we put a lot of pressure in the other person because you are projecting a lot of things in that person when he or she is not there. Do you get it? You expect them to be someone else or something else, or you expect them to have certain qualities when they don't have. And it is not that they are pretending to have it or pretending to be someone else, because our attachment kind of project them. So indirectly, it also put a lot of pressure for someone else. Just like sometimes we can see some certain level, parent having putting pressure to the children because of that kind of attachments. Children putting a pressure to the parent because of their attachment and their expectations. And not only that, you can see within the friends, we can see within the teachers and students and all of that, in every kind of relationship. So it's not a healthy. It's not healthy. It's not healthy. So that is how unrealistic those expectations are, because it's been projected by your mind, by your attachments. So it's bound to be, bound to lead to be disappointed. And same with all other objects, not only another being, human beings, animals, other form of being, but also it's same when you attach to any kind of object, it is the experience. For example, sometimes we have attachment to our spiritual experiences. Sometimes you have certain, moment of some pleasant experience in your meditation, in your practice. Then we get attached to it. Then we have this, due to attach to it, we have this kind of craving and desire to revisit that experience or recreate that experience. So you have expectations, next meditation, next practice to have similar result, similar experience. And when that similar result and similar experience not experienced, then you get disappointed. Then that disappointment can lead to, being harsh on yourself or the practice itself. Sometimes you think, maybe this practice can never lead to that experience or that result. Sometimes you think, I'm not a good meditator, not a good practitioner. How come that I cannot produce that same result or experience, so on, so on, So again, it lead to, kind of unhealthy feelings, emotions, and so that is what happens. Same thing. Maybe you met someone for the first time, or and you had a nice experience, and second time you try to meet, and then again with the first experience you have nice experience, so then you get attached to that experience and you hope for that similar experience or better experience next time, and when it doesn't happen, again you get disappointed. How come our last meeting was so nice and enjoyable, and this meeting we didn't enjoy so much, we didn't have such, and a lot of time, because maybe at the very beginning, sometimes we don't have expectation, therefore we enjoy more. But when there is expectations, then we enjoy less, because there is the expectation factors. And that kind of expectations comes, when we have that kind of attachment and craving and desire for whatever that experience is, And that could be another beings, and it could be, any places in the world you are visiting, When you visit, new places, again, sometimes you don't have much expectation, you enjoy, there's a nice feeling, and then you get attached to that, and next time you have craving, expectations, and then when you go and then, those are not me, you might be disappointed and unhappy. Again, sometimes because of, again, that expectations, and a lot of time, expectation is the result of such attachment. Attachment is very, very, strong part of the mind or emotion, very pervaded in our life, in our experiences. You just feel like that we cannot function without the attachment somehow. Attachment is everywhere, all the time. So in that way, the attachment is much more worse than the anger. And attachment lead to many other negative emotions. Attachment lead to jealousy. Attachment lead to sense of competitiveness. Attachment lead to greediness, miserliness, and sometimes attachment lead to hostile feelings or anger. So not only the attachment but itself is such a harmful that, but then it also kind of give rise to so many other negative emotions. So many negative emotions. It gives rise to so many negative emotions. And so therefore, when we have attachments, there is so much pain come from attachments. So much, as is mentioned in many of the scriptures and with our own direct experience, when you're attached to something, whatever object it might be, at the very beginning, there's always worry and fear whether we will be able to get the object we are attached to, isn't it? You are attached to something and you really want that because you are so attached. So you have strong attachment, craving, and desire for that object, and we make a lot of effort to acquire that. We make a lot of effort, sometimes going through a lot of hardship to acquire that. And not only we go through a lot of hardship and a lot of problem and difficulty to acquire that, the object of attachment, but there's always a sense of fear, worry, whether I will be able to get it or not, whether I will have it or not. And there's always sense of competitiveness with others to get that because you think that someone else might get that one. Because you feel there is someone who might, take away whatever you are attached to, whether it's a position, whether it's a job, whether it's a reputation, whether it's any other objects. So there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of worry. And that gives a sense of competitive mind to others, towards others, and jealousy towards others. And supposedly, with a lot of hard work, a lot of difficulties, we are able to acquire what we are attached to, whatever object it is. Now we have. Now we got what we want. Are you fully happy? Are you fully satisfied? Not so sure. Most likely not. No. Even you have got some kind of satisfaction, happiness, a lot of time it will not last long. Okay? It will not last it long. In some cases, the moment you have the objects, you already started to find some faults and disappointed. It was not the same as you expected. And even you are happy at the very beginning, first of all, that will not last, because it didn't come from true wisdom. That attachment come from the ignorance, so it will never last. That kind of even little bit feeling of joyfulness, happy, satisfied, that will not last. And secondly, now we start another level of fear and worry. Now you got the object. Now you have the objects. Now you have the fear and worry that you might lose it. Because you don't want to lose it. The object of your attachment, whether it is a being, whether it is your loved ones, or whether it is some objects, when you are so attached to it, nobody want to lose them. And so therefore, again, there is another level of worry, fear of the possibility of losing it, the possibility of being separated from them, the possibility of, someone taking away that, so all of that. So you have same kind of worry and fear again, all of that. So you are never free from the worry and fear, whether you have the object or whether you don't have the objects when you are attached to it. Even you don't have, you still have that. Even when you get it, still you have fear and worry. So that is how much. So we have to work so hard. So at the very beginning, we have to work so hard and difficulties and hardship to acquire it. After we have acquired it, now we have to maintain it. Now we have to keep it from getting worse or deteriorating, from losing it. So again, we have to work so hard and go through a lot of difficulty, all of that, again, because all due to that attachments. And then if we do lose them, if we do get separated from them, then it can be very devastating. It can be very devastating depending on level of your attachment. The more stronger attachment you have, the more devastating it will be. Less attachments, less devastating. When you lose the object of the attachment, when you get separated from the object of attachments. If you are very strongly attached, the devastating of losing that can have a strong impact on your life. Some people, even many years, that they are not be able to overcome from that devastations. It can remain such a painful, not only for days, weeks, months, but for many, many years. In some cases, sometimes maybe whole life, some people never being able to overcome the lost, and so you live with all this pain, all this suffering. So for so many, maybe rest of your life or so many years. One reason is because of the devastating is so strong because of a strong attachment. Let's take a few examples, let's say, in our life, we have seen, in terms of persons, animals, we have seen many animals dying. We have seen so many people dying. If you see those devastating moments, when are those devastating moments? are those when you lose something you are very attached to. It's not, you are devastated not because another animal died. We see that animal dying every day. Are you devastated that much? It's the same animal. It's animal. But because we don't have such attachment to others, the attachment we build up with our own pet is a very different. So when your pet dies, you are much more devastated for days, weeks, or months. But you don't feel same when someone's pet dies. When you see another animal die, you might be a little bit pain, but it is not as devastating. And that is same with another being, human beings. We see human beings dying all the time, but we don't feel so devastated when you see someone dying. But when it is your own friends, families that you are attached to, then, it's much more devastating, much more painful. So, and that kind of devastation, that kind of pain, that can overwhelm us, and make us so overwhelmed and so devastated, sometimes, your mind so down and low, all of that is a result of, one of the main results is attachment. The more you are attached, the more devastating it is. The less attached, the less devastating it is. Of course, you will be sad. Of course, you will be sad to lose someone that you are close, someone you know, someone you have certain relationship. You will be sad, but it will be not as devastating. It's not that you will be emotional less. Do you get it? It doesn't mean that if you do not attachment, you become emotional less, that you don't feel anything. That you become like a robot, no feeling. It's never like that. You will feel the sad, but it will not be overwhelming and such devastating. You feel it and then you can let it go. You feel it, you experience it, and you can let it go without holding on that, without being so devastated and so overwhelmed and so painful, mm, yeah, I think, maybe I don't know, this example can help, I've noticed, over many years with His Holiness Dalai Lama and his teachings, because that is where we have access to. I don't have access to his personal everyday life when he's not teaching or in his, but when he's teaching, that is where we see, and that, and I've seen a lot of time when he's teaching on compassion, loving kindness, when he's going through certain texts, scriptures, teaching, and when it comes to certain parts of kindness, part where it is about, compassion, bodhicitta mind, in that, suddenly, you see him kind of sobbing or crying, because I think he feels the pain and sufferings of the sentient beings, he feels the pain and suffering of sentient beings, the sadness, the pain, the suffering of the sentient beings. And that, most time is like, few seconds, few minutes, and then he will continue teaching as though nothing's happened, and then he will just continue peaceful, calm, and joyful, and kind of what you call mysterious, kind of all that he is, humorous, and as though nothing's happened just a moment ago. And that is where, you feel the pain, but you don't hold in that pain. You don't remain in that pain. You feel the experience and you just move on. That it has that ability, So it is not a kind of state where you don't feel at all. You feel the pain, the sadness, all of that, but it doesn't affect or devastate you. You feel it and you just move on, And so that is a very good example, even though, and that is not just example, it's a direct experience that you experience so many times when he's on his teaching, over the years, his ability to that, his ability of being able to feel the pain at the same time, not be in that pain for, just move on, feel and then just move on, and the ability to do that. And also we have to differentiate between attachment and true affection, love and compassion, because that is where a lot of people get confused, That is where a lot of people get confused, They think, if you don't have attachments, how can we have affections? How can we love our children, our pets, or someone else? They are similar, but they are not same. True love and ordinary love, attachment and compassions, or true affections. Attachment is always grounded in ignorance, is rooted in ignorance to start with. Whereas true love, true compassions, true affections is rooted in wisdom, not in ignorance. So the root is very different. The attachment, the desire, the craving is very much rooted in ignorance, whereas true affection, true love, true compassion is rooted in the wisdom, understanding, not ignorance. Secondly, the attachments is totally mistaken mind, that is totally exaggerating and projecting a lot of qualities into the object by the mind itself when it is not there. So, it's exaggeration, it's exaggerations, of the qualities into the objects. So it is totally exaggerations of the positive quality. When you are attached to something, you see positive quality in that. That's why you are attached to it. You see some positive qualities, some good qualities, some attractive qualities. That is why you are attached to it. But not only that, when you have attachment, then that good quality, positive qualities, or that attractive quality, whatever you see, your attachment exaggerate more of those qualities into the objects. Project more into the object than what is there. And that is where the disappointment comes later, Because at the moment when I have strong attachment, I projected so much into that object. When you have strong attachment, you have projected so much into that object, exaggerated so much in the object. When your attachment started to loosen, slowly your attachment will not be same level. And slowly your attachment, the intensity of attachment over the time loosen. And when it loose, then you begin to see things that not there, which your mind has projected before. And then you feel like you have been deceived, So like that. So it's exaggerations, so whereas true love, compassions, and affections, they don't exaggerate. They don't exaggerate. They don't project more into the object than what it is there. Just by seeing, their suffering, their pain, their well-being, without trying to exaggerate, you see what as it is, and by of that, and then you feel, you want to help, benefit, do something, if there is any way to reduce their pain, their suffering, So it's just understanding, recognizing, and feeling whatever is going there. On the basis of that, recognizing, understanding, feeling of whatever their pain, whatever suffering, whatever their state, whatever their well-being, that's through that feeling, then the wish to do something, the wish to make something better, the wish to, improve the situation, the wish to see improvement or better situations. So, so there is no exaggeration in that. So so we need that. We need to cultivate that kind of affection, that kind of love, that kind of compassion. That is something we need to cultivate. We need to improve. That we need to develop. But attachments, on the other hand, is something that we need to reduce and overcome, because and attachment also have this kind of qualities or negative qualities or functionings. Somehow when you have strong attachment to any object, there's sense of possessiveness, possessive, controlling, sometimes it's very obvious, sometimes it's subtle, but there's always that kind of level, some kind of possessiveness and controlling part. And so, so that is in relationship, when does someone become possessive and controlling? When they have a very strong attachment. And because that strong attachment, they feel insecure, As I said before, when you have strong attachment, you have fear and worry. So you feel insecure because you don't want to lose it, and there's possibility of losing it. And so you become very possessive and very controlling. And not only your mind is such, become very narrow and very kind of in that way, but it also have a negative impact on other persons in the relationship. Nobody want to be controlled and being controlled, and being so possessive by someone, They also, everyone want to have their own freedom, certain level of freedom, and and so. And so, all of these are, again, as I said, these are nothing complicating philosophical ideas. It's our own everyday experience. It's our everyday experience. Sometimes, even though it's our everyday experience, sometimes we're unaware of that. So the Buddha, through his teaching, is pointing out, just pointing out. So we recognize that and we can pay more attention and really see, is that the case? If that is the case, then we have to kind of, if we don't want that kind of suffering and that kind of that, then we have to do something to change it. So, it's our everyday experience, but sometimes we're unaware of that, and so through the teachings, it helps us to be more aware of that, our own experience. And that is same with our meditation. The purpose of meditation is to be more aware of what is happening in our body, what is happening in our mind, and all of that. Mm. And as in all the teachings, as it says, by following the attachment, you can never find true satisfactions. Absolutely, the attachment can never give you true satisfactions or sense of true content. Even though we are chasing different things, whether it's a persons or whether it's another being or whether it's an external object or whether it's an experience or whether it's a status, reputation, fame, whatever, praise, even though we are chasing them to find happiness, we are chasing them in order to find happiness, in order to find kind of contents, satisfactions. But by doing that, we can never find all of that just by chasing them. And there are many different examples that, in the suttas Buddha gave, one of the example of that is, when you are thirsty, in order to quench, in order to relieve your suffering of thirsty or quench, if you drink a salted water, at the very beginning, it might help you a little bit, but then it makes you more thirsty. The more you drink, the more thirsty you feel. And that is how the attachment is. The more you follow it, the more you want. Never being satisfied, never being that, that is how attachment is. Another example, quite another example that gives is, like attachment is like this, that honey being anointed on the very sharp knife or blade of the knife. And so there is a sweetness. So you try to lick if you try to lick the honey, at the very beginning there's sweetness, but it will cut your tongue. So at the very beginning, when you follow attachment, it might feel like we are getting some kind of pleasant feelings or joyful feelings or some kind of satisfaction, but at the end it destroys you. In long term, in the end, it destroys you. Even though at the very beginning there's a little bit of sweetness, even though it might have a little bit of sweetness at the very beginning, but at the end it always lead you, it will destroy you. And so such is and then they give another examples, like a cow or any animals, on the cliff they see some grass, and out of attachment they try to eat, and then they sleep and they fall, so it takes their life for small things. And so similarly, like that attachment at the very beginning, it can give us some pleasant, but at the end it kind of really destroy you in the long term, So here it says attachment not only keep you from having rebirth, and also, what it means, not only we experience those different fear, worry, disappointment, dissatisfied, an unhappy mind because of those attachments in this life. But also in the future, we will not, this attachment will take away, keep you from the happy rebirth or higher rebirth, higher fortunate rebirth. because, for a higher fortunate rebirth, one of the main cause is the practice of pure morality that is supported by the generosity and, pure prayer dedications. And so when you have strong attachments, as I mentioned, we become more greedy. Attachment leads to greediness and mercilessness. So through mercilessness and greediness, we will be less generous. We will be less generous. And generous is one of the cause of the high rebirth. And especially the moral discipline, such as reframing or avoiding 10 non-virtuous actions is one of the main cause of high rebirth, happy rebirth or high rebirth. And if we check in our life, if we are unable to keep those the vows or refraining from those 10 non-virtuous actions, avoiding them, what is the main cause for not being able to keep them? Is attachment. Is the attachment. One of the main cause is the attachments. Whether it's taking the life of others due to the attachment to the flavor of the meat, whether it is due to the attachment to the fur, whether it is due to attachment to the enjoyment as a sport. So, a lot of time is due to that taking life, is that stealing is due to attachment. Why would someone steal something? Why would someone steal something? So again, and same with sexual misconduct. Why would one engage in sexual misconduct? Again, it is attachment. So if you look one by one, so the main cause of not being able to keep those moral discipline is because of the attachments. And therefore, when one is unable to practice a strong moral discipline, then you don't create the cause and condition for the higher rebirth. And if you don't create the cause and condition for the happy rebirth or higher rebirth, then you wouldn't have. So it is what that keep you attachments that not only keep you from the happy rebirth, it also kills the very life of liberation. And so not only that, then also it kills the very life of liberation and enlightenment. In order to achieve liberations, we have to overcome all the karma and all the delusions, and attachments is one of the main that keep us in samsara. If we explain from 12 link how we kind of circle in the samsara, the evolution of samsara, how we circle in the samsara, in that evolutions of the samsara, the attachments play a huge, attachment or craving play a huge role. At the very beginning, out of ignorance, then we create some actions, and that actions, karmic seed is planted in our mind stream. And in order to that karmic seed to manifest the result, it had to be activated. And what activates those karmic seeds is the craving and grasping, which is both of them are attachments. So if you don't have craving and grasping, then even if you have all these negative karmic seeds, they will not be able to produce samsara. They will not be able to produce any result. It's like a seed that never gets water. It's like a seed that never gets water. So we might have so much negative karma that is we have created due to the ignorance, in our mind stream, in the garden of our mind stream. But to activate them, it needs to be water. It needs to be moisture. And the water, the moisture, to have the samsara rebirth is the craving and grasping. Craving and grasping is, attachments. So that is how, it kills very life of the liberation. From that point of view, it feels like it is even worse than the ignoring itself. With ignorance, you have created so much negative karma to take a continuous, endless rebirth in samsara. But if there's no more attachment and no more attachment, so there's no more craving and grasping, all this karmic seed that you have created is useless. It cannot produce any karmic rebirth. If there's no karmic rebirth, samsaric karmic rebirth, then there is no suffering of the samsara. That is the end to the samsara. When you look from this point of view, then this attachment sometimes even almost feel like it is even worse than the fundamental ignorance. In terms of continuously taking rebirth in samsara and experience this suffering in this samsara, endlessly. So the point, so that is what it kills the very life of the liberations, so, and definitely, fully enlightenment, there's no doubt even about fully enlightenment, not only liberation, but full enlightenment. It kills the very life of fully enlightenment. So once we understand how harmful, how destructive the attachment is for the happiness of this life, happiness of future life, for the happiness of liberation and fully enlightenment, by understanding that, because it's the, it's the obstacle for the happiness of this life, happiness of next life or future life, happiness of liberation and fully enlightenment. By understanding that, then we have to put more and more effort to work with our attachment, trying to work to have less and less attachment, to have less and less attachment, less attachments means less worry, less fear. Mm-hmm. And a less dissatisfied mind. That means less unhappy mind. That means more happy, more satisfied, So is, I think, and we learn from giving up small things of our attachments, We cannot give up all the objects of our attachment immediately, okay? Because it will require a lot of practice, maybe a lot of time, to overcome the attachments, So we might not be able to give up all the object of attachment, but there are a lot of small things in our life that we are still attached to that we might be able to give up. And we learn to give up small things from being attached to them, and then slowly giving up even bigger things, object that we're attached, and slowly, even the most bigger things that we're attached to. But we have to start somewhere. And the advice the Buddha gave and all the great master is we always start with the more easy one. with the easy one, we start with the easy one, and slowly, we build up our practice, and slowly, we engage in the more and more challenging, more and more difficult parts. And so same here, because I think, there are a lot of things in our life we're attached to, which are not if we learn to give up, we can give up easily then, It's not going to make a huge difference in our life by giving up those things, But definitely less attachment. The more thing I have in my room, the more attachment I am. I'm attached to all of them, Less thing I have here, I have less to worry about them. I have less worry whether one of those that might break down, one of that can get knocked down, or what might happen when I'm no more here. All of that, less of that, because the more I have, the more worry I have immediately, and also futures, So, and many of things, of course, there are certain things is very necessary for us for our living. We need it, but many of the things it's just extra, and we don't really need it. And like those things, we can give up. We have to learn to give up them. Less to worry. Less to worry now, and less to worry at the time of death. What might happen, whether someone is going to really cherish the object, or whether they are going to throw in the garbage. Do you get it? Things that I'm cherishing so much, holding so strongly, grasping so strongly, once I'm gone, someone might just throw in the garbage. And what is the point of me all keeping them and storing them and keeping them and wearing them, And a lot of those things we don't use. There is no uses, So that is like those things, small things like that, we can kind of let it go, start giving, I don't know with others, but personally, I feel, much more, my mind much more relaxed and clear when there's less thing. Be in my personal room, be in a house, be in a temple, wherever. When there's too many things, your mind gets distracted with too many things. You see too many things, your eye see all of them, and when your eye see that, your mind follow that, and then your mind is too busy. And that is why, sometimes I really like those, even in some garden, Zen garden, so simple, nice, and like that, and same, sometimes I think it also affects your mind to be more, in your practice meditation as well, less distraction that way, So that is what we can learn to start with. Not only we hear the teachings, we hear, 1.5 hour, 1 hour, all teaching and so many times, but how can we take it home, and how can we apply? How can we apply on meditation level, on practical level, On practical level, as I said, we can kind of let go of some of the objects of our attachment, starting with the easy ones. On meditation level, we can try to meditate on all the disadvantage, all the faults of this attachment, how it creates so much suffering, in so many different ways to oneself and others. And then we can meditate on, the emptiness of the object of the attachment itself, and you who is the person who is attached. So we can do meditation on emptiness, all of that. Or we can also do meditation on impermanent nature of the object of the attachment itself, and you yourself who is attached. All of this, yourself, your attachment, the object of that, they all are impermanent. They will never last. They all will be disintegrate. They all will be gone. There will be no more there. It's only a matter of time. And not only it will be gone and that it will change, the change has already begun. Sometimes we are not aware that change has already begun, but change has already begun. Change has already started. So it's never going to be same. So why attached to you? We are attached to it because we like something the way it is now, but that is not how it is going to be all the time. That is going to change. That is not only going to change, has already started, So through that, again, we can meditate on that. And so by such certain meditation, if our meditation is strong enough, good enough, and consistent over the time, then, even you feel very strongly at one time attachment with something very intense. Even though attachment not gone, but it will be less intense. It will be more lighter. The attachment is still there, but it's not so strong. And that is a progress. That is a progress, Whether it's attachment or it's anger, even though anger and attachment might not be gone completely through your practice and meditation at the very beginning, but as long as you can reduce the intensity of that, as long as you can make it more, more lighter and less strong, that is a progress, So then, and then slowly, hopefully, we will be able to kind of completely get rid of the attachment, not only on strong level and intense level, but even on subtle and more subtle level, that we will be able to let go, even on more subtle level, all of that. So we can meditate on emptiness, we can meditate on impermanent nature, we can think of not only impermanent in general, we can also meditate on, that impermanent ourselves. We never know when our life can come to end. If today is my last day in this world, what I want to do I need to be attached to my computer? Do I need to be attached with this and that? Is this worthy to be attached to them if this is my last day? Or I will rather kind of let it go, And so again, like that, it can be helpful, to do because the object of our attachments is nothing. It's just like a garbage by tomorrow when I'm leaving. It's just something left over, And so therefore, once you recognize, understand, and you have less attached to that. And so that through that, again, having less attachment. Also meditating on, the essenceless and unattractiveness of the object of the attachments. Because when you're in attachment, we only see the positive side, only the attractive side. That's why we're attached to. But, also in that object, there is also unpleasant side, unattractive side as well. So when you meditate on that, then there's less attachments, For example, maybe there is something, flower. I like the color. I don't like the shape. I like the color. So I'm attached to the color. So, but if I focus on the shape, which I don't like it because it's not attractive or pleasant, so then maybe my attachment might be less of that. Just to give a simple example of that. So in different, all of those different objects, so there is always, some unattractive, unpleasant. And so if we meditate on that part, then, the strong attachment can be lessened, can be reduced. So I guess, that is all. If there's a question, I can take one or two of them. Or if someone has any questions, or if anyone, has anything to discuss, share. Still, we have a couple of minutes for that. If not, then I'm also happy to do the dedications. So we can do the dedications. May all beings everywhere plagued by the suffering of body and mind obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtues of my merit. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled with a mind weighed down by depression. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sound. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored on finding repose. May the naked find clothing, hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drink. May the poor find wealth and those who with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvest. May all medicine be effective and wholesome prayer bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be free from their ailments. Whatever disease they are in the world, may they never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid and those bound be free. May the powerless find power and may people think of benefiting each other. For as long as space remains, for as long as suns and bends remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. Thank you very much, everyone, and have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you, Geshe.
Thank you, Geshe.
Thank you.